All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right, welcome to our great capital of the state of New Jersey, Trenton, and welcome to our Mid-Atlantic rally, Save Our Jobs, Don't Ban Our Cars. I'm Michelle Sakurka. I'm proud to be the president and CEO of the New Jersey Business and Industry Association, and I'm honored to be your MC today. I'm thrilled to see so many of you here today. We have such a great showing. And before we get the program started, we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, I realize we don't see a physical flag in front of us right now. I'll ask you all to look into your hearts and vision with your heads, and together let's say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. So before we kick off the program, we need to thank a few folks. First of all, our New Jersey Statehouse employees for assisting our event coalition with the event logistics today, and the New Jersey Statehouse law enforcement officers for their assistance today and for what they do each and every day here in our great state. Thank you very much. To those of you who took time out of your very busy schedules today to make your way down here to Trenton, we want to say a special thank you to you. Now, we have a list of distinguished speakers that I'll have the honor of introducing shortly, but before I do that, I want to acknowledge some of the representation that we have here in the crowd today. So first of all, I'd like to start with some of our regional refineries who are here today, and they're represented by their refinery leadership and their workforce today. We have PBF Refinery, Paulsboro, New Jersey. We have PBF Delaware City Refinery from Delaware. Phillips 66 Bayway Refinery, New Jersey. I love it. I love the competition. And Monroe Energy from Trainer, Pennsylvania. And especially representing our Paulsboro Refinery hourly workers, we have the International Oil Workers. Give them a round. Now here we have lots of brothers and sisters representing our unions here today, so let me tell you the unions who are joining us today. We have our U.S. Steelworkers from Delaware, Local 4898. We have UA Local Union 322 from Hamilton, New Jersey. New Jersey UA Pipe Trades. The AFL-CIO Local 74 from Delaware. Also with us today, we have New Jersey State Senator Owen Henry from the 12th District. Owen, thank you for being here. And representing the American Petroleum Institute from Pennsylvania API, Executive Director Stephanie Katarina Wisman. And API New England, Regional Director of the Northeast Region, Mike Giamo. Also a partner who I don't believe is in the audience today, but we want to give a round of shout out for is Specialty Equipment Market Association, represented by their State Government Affairs, Christian Robinson. In addition, we have Consumer Energy Alliance Mid-Atlantic Chapter, represented by Executive Director Mike Butler. Thank you very much, Mike. And then we have some of our great chamber partners here today. Executive Director Janet Garrity from the Gloucester County Chamber of Commerce. Tony Russo, the president of the Commerce and Industry Association of New Jersey, and not with us today, but a good partner, Tom Bracken in the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce. Let's have a round of applause for all of you who are here today. Now, with this great diversity of audience, let me just 1 minute to set the stage for why we're here today. We're gathered to discuss a very important issue and for an important purpose, to join together with one voice to tell the EPA and our own New Jersey state policymakers as well to stop their new regulations that would effectively ban the sale of gas-powered cars in the next decade, and to instead stand with our workers and to save the jobs so many of us rely upon each and every day to put food on our table and roofs over our heads. The coming together, this one voice, is well represented here today, especially through the bipartisan group of elected officials joining us who you'll hear from shortly. They're showing their support, and this demonstrates that this is not a Republican or a Democratic issue. Rather, it's about jobs and giving Americans the freedom to choose the kind of car that they choose to drive. Thank you to our elected officials who are here today. And now, let me go on to our distinguished speakers. We're fortunate to have so many with us today joining, but I want to remind each and every one of them to keep the program moving 2 minutes. And I am standing right here, okay? So to kick us off today, I'd love to introduce and welcome to the podium Jim Appleton. Jim is the president of New Jersey CAR, an advocacy organization representing New Jersey's $37 billion auto retail sector, which employs more than 39,000 people here in the Great Garden State. Jim, all yours.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Again, my name is Jim Appleton. I'm president of the New Jersey Coalition of Automotive Retailers. Want me to stand closer to this mic? Yeah. New Jersey Coalition of Automotive Retailers. Our organization represents the state's $43 billion now, Michelle, a year auto retail sector. And there are more than 500 dealership locations across the state of New Jersey, and they employ nearly 37,000 men and women in good-paying jobs that can't be outsourced and can't be shipped overseas. Now, we don't deny climate change, and we acknowledge the impact that the transportation system has had on the environment. We support rational, market-based strategies to transition to a zero-emission future. But we don't support government mandates that restrict consumer choice or that will make the purchase of a new car virtually unaffordable for working and middle-class families in the state of New Jersey. And that's precisely what the governor's EV mandates will do. Starting next year, automakers will be restricted in the number of combustion vehicle engines that they can send into the state of New Jersey. And they'll be forced to send New Jersey dealers an increasing number of electric vehicles. This, even though consumers have not yet fully embraced the technology, and the state has failed to invest in the infrastructure and other policies that would help accelerate EV adoption. One thing is clear: the state's electric vehicle policies are on a collision course with its economic and fiscal realities. The governor has embraced the California Air Resources Board, or CARB, mandates, which call for New Jersey to be a 100% EV marketplace by 2035. But just last month, he approved a $1,060 upfront fee on the purchase of all new EVs sold in New Jersey effective July 1st. And his Board of Public Utilities has slashed the cash on the hood incentives they offered from $4,000 to $2,000. And on top of all that, the governor's FY25 budget calls for a phase-out of the sales tax exemption on electric vehicles, which has literally been the only consistent and the most powerful incentive dealers have had in the showroom to sell EVs. All in, these policies will add thousands of dollars to the purchase price of a new EV. Please tell me how that's going to help move the market. Let's face it, New Jersey will be a 100% EV market when consumers say so, not when government mandates it. The car dealers that we represent in the state are ready, willing, and able to work with this administration, but it's time that this administration put money, state money, where its mandates are, and make meaningful investments in the infrastructure and incentives needed to move the EV market. And if the state can't afford to follow the CARB rules, which appears to be the case at this point, then the administration should acknowledge its mandates are unrealistic and walk away, like the governors of Maine, Connecticut, and Virginia have already done. And then if the administration isn't prepared to accept this reality, we call on the legislature to take the wheel and to steer EV policy back on a rational course. Thanks, folks.
Thanks so much, Jim. Our next speaker is Senator Latham Teever, who's from New Jersey's 8th District. In addition to serving in the Senate, Senator Teever is also the business representative for Operating Engineers Local 825.
Good morning, everyone. You took my first...
Really close to the mic, Dave.
She took my first two sentences. Hi, my name is Latham Teever. I represent the 8th Legislative District, and I'm also a member of the State Energy and Environment Committee and represent the Operating Engineers Local 825, which runs heavy equipment that could not possibly run on a battery anytime soon. The EV mandate conversation is one about reality versus fantasy. In no real world can we eliminate gas and diesel-powered cars in the next 10 years. In no real world could we eliminate good consumer sentiment millions of people have towards their gas cars. Nor should we want to. In this administration's fantasy world, we will all willingly choose EVs, and our infrastructure will be ready to support all of the new charging stations. Our grid won't buckle, our wallets won't be thinned out due to elevated cost of EVs, and no one will ever experience range of anxiety with their new car. But we all know that's not reality. There are trade-offs to every new technology, and if we shutter gas in favor of batteries, we will start to notice the buildup of old batteries and loss of precious earth resources. No form of energy is perfect. That's why we need every sector to work together to deliver a diverse energy portfolio for the American people. Gas, diesel, nuclear, solar, and EVs, all of it. It's just not irresponsible to the consumer and to the economy to ban gas cars, but irresponsible to our grid and our environment. A ban on gas cars is wildly out of step with what most Americans want. The people have spoken and they demand choice. They demand energy diversity. I hear all day in the Senate and Energy Environment Committee about how our grid can't handle the proposed electric demands, and yet they continue to shove mandates down our throats. It's time to stand up for what the consumer wants. I promise all of you to continue to fight for what's right, and that's protecting our natural gas industry and our freedom of choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Tiver. Next up, we have Senator Carmen Amato, who's joining us from New Jersey's 9th District. Senator Amato has a long history of serving his community as a member of several boards and commissions and as the former mayor of Berkeley Township. All yours.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. As previously mentioned, I was the mayor of Berkeley Township for 12 years, and now my first year as a state senator. I can tell you I know many people who own and like electric vehicles. But at the same time, there are many, many people whom an EV is not in any way an affordable or preferred option of driving. This federal mandate demands that we go from 11% of EVs on the road to 100% in 11 years, around the same time I was mayor. That is not only impractical, it is impossible. With an EV mandate, there will be too many unknowns for low and moderate income New Jerseyans, for seniors, many in my district, and also young people, for families struggling to make ends meet. Clearly, we do not have the roadside infrastructure or grid power to allow most drivers to have an electric vehicle. And we don't have a local on the street and in the driveway infrastructure for everyone to have one. This proposed federal mandate, as well as New Jersey's EV rule, acknowledges that there will be those who will not own cars. Solutions being offered to those folks are programs to promote EV buses, rideshare alternatives, or even bicycle ownership. For many residents who depend on their cars to get to work, shop, vacation, or see their doctors, these are not realistic solutions. So I ask our federal representatives and my colleagues in the Statehouse to say no to this unaffordable mandate. I ask them to support our automakers and the many Mid-Atlantic workers here today by putting the brakes on this ban of gas-powered cars and to keep the foot on the pedal of freedom of choice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Amato. Next up, we have Kate Gibbs, Deputy Director of ELEC 825. ELEC 825 is a collaborative labor management organization focused on creating jobs and expanding work opportunities for both union labor and building contractor associations. Kate?
Hi, thank you so much. As stated, I represent ELEC 825, which represents the combined interests of nearly 8,000 operating engineers in the state of New Jersey, as well as the signatory contractors who employ them. And our members work on literally every type of infrastructure, which gives us a really unique vantage point when evaluating the policies related to our energy here in New Jersey. And I wanted to mention a few things that other speakers might not bring up. First, that even if we had a magic wand and cost wasn't an issue, and we deployed all of the charging stations necessary tomorrow, we don't have the energy to support it, to meet the demand. And while at the same time we're racing towards mandated electrification across all sectors, we've blocked natural gas expansion projects to the tune of $15 billion. Now that $15 billion is not only lost jobs for men and women like I represent, huge economic losses for the state, but it also represents a missed opportunity to significantly reduce energy costs for all New Jersey customers. and reduce emissions. But for political reasons, we've blocked these projects and moved forward with these mandates that frankly don't work in reality, as you've heard already today. So we're taxing our grid with this proposal. We've blocked projects that would help us diversify that and strengthen that energy portfolio. And we haven't even mentioned that these mandates put the only constitutionally dedicated revenue to support our transportation trust fund in severe jeopardy. Without that dedicated funding that is responsible for statewide transportation improvements, but also hundreds of millions of dollars a year in local aid, means that either our roads and bridges will crumble and not be maintained, or we'll have to make up those funds with local property taxes, something we know New Jerseyans can't bear. So for all these reasons, our organization suggests that these policies need to be looked at holistically for the sake of our infrastructure, for our jobs, and for our state. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Kate. Next up, we have the Mayor of Paulsboro, John Giovanetti. And prior to serving as mayor, Mr. Giovanetti served on Paulsboro's council for 2 decades. Most recently was the governing body's president, currently the assistant principal and athletic director at Paulsboro High School. Mayor Giovanetti.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Great to see such an enthusiastic crowd today. And you have a right reason to be enthusiastic, because what they are trying to bring to the table is just not going to work. It's not going to work at all. It's going to hurt a lot of people. Being a mayor of a refinery town, we know the partnership and relationship that we have with the refineries. So when I was reading this information that's come out, I just shook my head. But I am very optimistic with the team that we have in place, and our former mayor of Paulsboro, who's now a state senator, is in the fight with us, and I like our chances of these going bye-bye and keeping things the way they are. We just cannot accept this. We got to keep working hard. And as the mayor of Paulsboro, I support the refinery, and I don't support these regulations, and nor does the town. But we will do everything in our power to make sure it doesn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Staying with Paulsboro for now, please join me in welcoming Paulsboro Councilman Ted Holloway. Councilman Holloway is a member of the Borough Council in Paulsboro, New Jersey. He's been involved in various local government activities and has been a part of the council for several years. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. So again, like she just said, my name is Theodore Holloway. I am a 10-year elected official in Paulsboro and also a 25-year business associate / employee with the Paulsboro Refinery. I come from a 3rd generation of refinery people in the refineries, and the industry that we work in that put more than just food on the table. They brought people to life. My son will be an engineer coming up, and he will be a 4th generation coming up. And so we cannot slow down. We cannot slow down the work and the production and the good things that the refinery does for us. The mandate itself, I definitely think is bogus. If 75% of us are standing against it, like my mayor said, it should be a win-win for us. We're going to stand side by side with our senator, again, former mayor, and the rest of the legislators, bipartisan and all, just to make sure that this does not happen, to make the people of New Jersey and also the people of America suffer. If you have old cars and you were donated that car from a grandfather who has your historic vehicle, if they tell you you can't ride that on the road, there's going to be a lot more in New Jersey than just people up here complaining in the state. So let's stick together with this, ride with our legislators, and if the people that are in place don't want it, get them out and put the new people in. Let's go with that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Next up, please welcome Mayor Derek Armstead. Mayor Armstead brings a wealth of experience in community leadership to his community of Linden. He's been in public service since 1993 and served on numerous boards and commissions. Mayor?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I think to say that the automotive and the oil industry has been good to my family is an understatement. We are the home of Phillips 66, and when my family came to town, it may have been Standard Oil. That's how long we've been in town since 1927. My first real job was in a refinery. So I can't begin to tell you how important these jobs are. I think at one time or another, almost half the family worked at General Motors. So this is very, very important to families like mine. And it's time we stand up to government. that and tell them we don't need them to be our parents, and take our choices away as to whether we want gas, diesel, hybrid, or electric vehicles. That should be our choice and our choice alone. I've taken the moment to list some things I believe are important to all of us moving forward. The economic impact. These regulations threaten jobs in the traditional automotive, manufacturing, and maintenance across our state, whereby they will cause significant hardship to workers. The cost burden. Electric vehicles, EVs, are currently more expensive than gasoline counterparts. Increased taxes and electricity bills will further add strain to our working families. Then there's the California example. You gotta like this one, you're gonna love this one. California has recently proposed a 6-month pilot program, and we all know how this is gonna turn out. It begins this August and will involve volunteers split into 2 groups. One group will be charged a flat rate of 2.8 cents per mile as a revenue neutral rate. This amount will supposedly bring in the same amount as their current gas tax, and another group will be taxed based on their vehicle's fuel efficiency. This rate is supposed to decrease as fuel efficiency increases. Well, we know where this will end up, and that is the amount will just increase over time as legislators of this program did not specify a rate cap. There is an alternative solution. Instead of banning gas vehicles, we should incentivize hybrid vehicles, invest in cleaner fuels, and improve gasoline engine efficiency. A balanced approach is crucial to avoid disproportionately harming working families. For me, as I believe in green, I say that because since I became mayor of Linden, I've implemented 3 major green projects. Therefore, we need to be mindful that there's a negative environmental component with electric cars. While reducing greenhouse gases is important, the manufacturing process of EVs emits substantial greenhouse gases through mining, refining, and manufacturing. We need realistic assessments of the environmental impacts associated with all vehicle types. With that said, my call to action is, we are here today to protect jobs, preserve consumer choice, and advocate for sensible environment policies that balance economic and environmental impacts. Thank you. And I'll close out by saying, save our jobs, don't ban our cars.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Now, again, to remind us of the diversity of the group we have here in the region that spans, we have our Newcastle County Councilman from Delaware, Tim Sheldon. Tim's the former Vice President of the Delaware State AFL-CIO and Delaware Building Trades Council, and started his career as an apprentice with Bricklayers Union Local 1.
Thank you for being the token guy from Delaware. I think I'm also the token Irishman. I see a lot of Italians. They got to have an Irish guy here. My dues are paid up. Everybody know this. I'm a lifelong member of the building trades. I worked at the refinery. I want to start back about the cars, but I really want to talk about a refinery that shuts down. I lived it. I lived it as a business manager, talking to wives, telling people, no, there's no job. There's no job in sight. When the Delaware City refinery closed down, it was a massacre. The headlines in the newspaper said 500 jobs. No 500 jobs. That was 500 people that worked actually in the plant. That did not include the Delaware Building Trades, which is 500 people. At the end of the day, we did a survey, the state did, and said there was over 2,200 jobs lost, not 500, the reciprocal effect. This hurts workforce development. They tell me to go do a trade, don't go to college, we need you to do it, and then they shut the jobs down. Is that workforce development? Is that taxes? The taxes that we pay on good paying jobs? We need these jobs. And also, they just talk about the cars, the diesel, but what about the pharmaceuticals? What about the fertilizer, the byproducts of everything that comes out of a refinery? What, we hate the farmers too? And everybody that's on there, and I am a Democrat. Guess what? I've been in office 20 years, so I'm going to say it's been close to 40. A guy called me up and said, run for my old county council seat. You're a Democrat in a Republican district, but I'm going to introduce you to my son. He's going to be your campaign manager. Brian McGlinchey is going to be your secretary. That person was Joe Biden. Now, Joe, I love Joe. I swear I do. But he's got to get different votes for other things that he wants done, so he has to cater to the ultra left. Now, I want to talk to the ultra left. You know, you're pro-choice, you want women's. What about pro-choice on everything on my car? Why can't I buy the car that I want to buy? Why can't we have something that's there that we want to do? That's what America is about. Why are we going to go backwards in everything? I understand the MAGA. I'm not with them, but I'm also not on to the left. And I'm telling you, as my Delaware constituents can tell you, they're trying to shut the refinery again down in Delaware. Really? How does that happen? Jobs, jobs, jobs. Say what you want about Bill Clinton. We had jobs and we made more money that way. And crime was down. You know why crime's down? Because you're working. You don't have to steal. You don't have to do other things. You have to provide for your family. I get it. Working is the best way. It keeps you off the street and it keeps you working, and the tax base. And also I want to say, I know all the refineries do this, but I got to get a shout out to Delaware City Refinery. Once I retired and collect my pension checks, I went to work for United Way of Delaware. I took care of the AFL-CIO accounts. Guess who I went to? Look, I need $2,000. I need this for the homeless shelter. I need this. I went to the Delaware City Refinery. They did it. They give back to the community, which maybe we just don't do it enough. I know America doesn't want to hear about how great refineries give back to the community, but we do. And without the Delaware City Refinery, I'm going to tell you, Delaware goes downhill. Goes downhill. So look, I'm here, and I'm glad everybody came out, no matter from Jersey, no matter if you're Italian and, you know, maybe an Irishman besides me out here. At least you come out and be known, shown, and go to the ballot box and answer those poll calls. I know I'm over 2 minutes. This originally was 2 minutes, but I didn't read it. So please call. I didn't. I worked at the Cat Cracker. I get it. Thank you very much for coming out, and I appreciate everything.
Thank you for your passion. And we know for sure at NJBIA, we know our refineries give back to communities. We know great businesses make great communities. I want to echo that point because it's significant. Next up, Assemblyman Christian Barranco. He is the Assemblyman representing New Jersey's 25th District and is an IBEW Local 102 electrician by trade.
This podium's not built for me, so I'm going to hold this in my hand. First of all, let me just say I'm incredibly honored to be able to come here today in support of an industry that helped me feed my kids and pay my mortgage, not only for myself, but for many of my brothers and sisters. It's an easy thing to come out here and say something about this because there's a lot to be said. We recently had a joint committee meeting. Senator Tiver was there with us, where we talked about this energy master plan. And, you know, this is all part of this energy master plan this administration is trying to put together. I'm also incredibly proud of the fact that here we are in a rally with bipartisan support. That's a big deal, folks, in this town, I promise you. And we're going to do our best to make sure that a guy from Delaware doesn't steal our thunder up here. So I'm going to be brief, guys. And listen, I'm presently a project manager. I do a lot of infrastructure projects for electric generation and transmission distribution. So this is something that I do every single day. So I'm going to share with you what we put together here for this statement today. Energy and all that it means to modern society is a massive, inextricable component of the costs of our daily lives. This, coupled with the simple fact that our electrical infrastructure is completely unprepared for the electrification of our transportation concerns in New Jersey, is the primary driver of the need for this event today. The secondary driver is the fact that no government should ever act in absolutes. Mandating what we can or cannot buy in the automotive market is nothing any government should be partaking in. And I, for one, will not be partaking in it because it's just not an American idea. What we see happening around the world with alternative power, wind power, and things of that nature. A perfect example is, and you guys can check this for yourselves, in the Republic of Germany, 28% of their electrical generation comes from wind farms. They have invested a massive amount of money of their GDP in building wind farms to the tune of 28%. That's a lot of electrical energy from a wind farm. Their kilowatt hour rate is 4.5 times our rate. Imagine your electric bills being 4.5 times bigger than they are right now. This is a bad idea, guys. A very bad idea. And I can tell you for my part in my caucus, we're going to talk very strongly against this. And like I said when I started, the fact that this is bipartisan is a big deal. And I thank my friends from the other side of the aisle for coming here today and having the courage to say this is a bad idea. So thank you so much for your time, guys.
Thanks, Assemblyman. All right, we need 1 minute for a quick tune-up here. So while we're waiting for that tune-up, let's remind ourselves while we're here, right? Get some energy going. So, save our jobs. No, repeat after me, people. Save our jobs. Don't ban our cars. That was perfect. Thank you. All right. Get better. We're doing that again at the end. I expect unison, all right? Okay, next up is Assemblyman Cody Miller from New Jersey's 4th District. In addition to his service in the Assembly, he's a firefighter with Williamstown Fire Company No. 1, previously served as a Monroe Township councilman and member of the Monroe Township Board of Education.
So, I think everyone has pretty much said what we're all thinking. When we talk about the impact on jobs, when we talk about the impact on the economy, when we talk about not being prepared to be able to handle this type of investment for our infrastructure, those are all relevant concerns. They're applicable concerns. When I think about it, I think about people in the 4th Legislative District that are on a fixed income. This EV mandate, what it will do is it will be cost prohibitive for middle and working class families. There is a way for us to transition to clean energy, but we should incentivize it. And I'm just going to give a little context. I served as a member of a Board of Education on council, and we did a joint solar initiative with our municipality, with our school district, with our utility authority, and we also did major improvements to upgrade our facilities to make them more energy improvement, to make them more energy efficient. Do you want to know how we did that? State incentives. We should be incentivizing, not mandating people to go to electric vehicles. Our grid is dependent, when we talk about our energy sources, it has to be hydrogen, it has to be solar, it has to be gas, it has to be nuclear. We need an energy portfolio that will be able to support our grid and the investment when we talk about the creation of jobs, when we talk about people being able to afford it. So I think you'll see here that you have a bipartisan coalition of legislators because we know the impact that this will have on middle and working class New Jersey families. And I'm proud to stand here, I'm proud to support you, and I'm proud to support our workers. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, please help me in welcoming New Jersey Assemblyman Dan Hutchinson. Assemblyman Hutchinson represents the 4th District and was previously a member of the Gloucester Township Council.
Thank you for having me here today. I am Assemblyman Dan Hutchison from New Jersey's Fighting 4th District, which spans parts of Camden, Gloucester, and Atlantic counties. That's bedroom communities, that's Pinelands, that's the beautiful farms in Buena Vista Township. I am thrilled to stand with you today and advocate for public policies that will benefit all New Jerseyans. I ran for office because as a father of 4, I want nothing more than to leave our state and our planet in a better shape than when we found it. I believe strongly that we have to take strong measures to protect our environment. However, as a state legislator, it is now my place to advocate for policies that are feasible and obtainable for all of the people that we represent. If we are forced to meet the standards that are currently imposed, our state will have a serious supply-demand issue. Thank you. Last year, gas cars accounted for 84% of U.S. vehicle sales, and I strongly believe that our country is simply not at a point where we can roll out an EV mandate that is widespread as the one put forth by the EPA. I have spoken to constituents in my district who have concerns about the affordability of electric vehicles and concerns from auto retailers with concerns with enough supply to meet the demand. Additionally, as we stand here today, we do not have anywhere near enough of an infrastructure to charge a massive influx of EVs to the market. I am proud to be here to raise concerns and be a voice in our Statehouse that will advocate for sensible changes that will help all New Jerseyans. It is important that we find the balance between protecting our environment and mandates that will not be sustainable in the future. Cody and I commit to working together with our partners in the legislature to find reasonable solutions that will protect our planet and work for everybody. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Next up, we have Carl Morera. Carl is the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association, an organization representing Pennsylvania's manufacturers since 1909.
Thank you, and good morning, and thank you for being here today. We at the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association represent the 550,000 hardworking Pennsylvanians on our manufacturing shop floors and more than $1 billion in gross state product. Manufacturers need energy, and a lot of it. And it's policies like this that we're talking about that would threaten our production, our electrical grid, and our environment. Ironically, President Biden's EPA is scheming to put only electric vehicles on the road while also stifling the production and distribution of actual energy. More stress on our electrical grid while prematurely shuttering compliant power plants equals less capacity for our already fragile systems to keep the lights on. It's a recipe for disaster, and that's the only way to describe it. Why are we allowing a technocratic bureaucracy that regularly leaves its own state in a series of brownouts to dictate policy for a whole nation? California has proven it can't govern, but yet the EPA and other states want to model their foolish ideas? It just doesn't make sense. But the impacts aren't just local, they're global. China dominates the global supply chain for EVs, batteries, and minerals. Any policy mandating electric vehicle adoption and cutting off consumer access to new gas-powered cars jeopardizes U.S. energy security to China's advantage. It's been reported that 95% of the necessary silicon needed for alternative energy stems from the Xinjiang internment camps. Moreover, the cobalt needed for EV batteries comes at a high human cost. It's been reported that more than 2,000 people die a year in the mines of Congo while also facing exploitation and child slave labor. But we're going to rely on these inputs at a higher environmental, social, and geopolitical cost? For all of the differences between Republicans and Democrats, liberals and conservatives, even business and labor, we should all agree to this. No American should have to compete with slave labor. And no American consumer should be forced to buy a product made with slave-made goods in the U.S. marketplace. The vehicles we drive today are cleaner, safer, and more efficient than ever before. Manufacturers have been a part of the solution, not the problem. American energy producers like yourselves have been a part of the solution, not the problem. Let's support American energy leadership. Let's support American workers. Let's support American consumers. Let's urge the EPA and all of our lawmakers to save our jobs, save our cars, and end this horrific science fiction horror story once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Next, let's welcome from the American Fuel and Petrochemical Manufacturers, Chet Thompson.
Morning, everybody. Thanks for coming. Michelle, thank you so much, and NJBIA for setting this up. My AFPM staff, thank you so much for organizing this. Most importantly, thank you to the refineries that are out here. I'm going to call you out again. PBF Paulsboro, Delaware City, Bayway, great shirts, Monroe Energy. Thank you to all the esteemed speakers. We couldn't do this without you. Listen, I have the great fortune to represent the U.S. refining industry. We are the best refining kit in all the world. And you know why we are? Because of the workforce. We have the best workforce in the world. We are the envy of the world. You know, most people have no idea where all these products come from, the products that make modern life possible, the products that get people to work every day, to put you in your airplanes, your school buses, keep you warm in the winter, cool in the summer. It's because of you. It's because of the people that are here, and it's because of the people that are back at the facilities right now on the tools in the shops, working 24/7. I come from Washington, D.C., and there are a lot of that talk the talk. They really don't even know where anything comes from. When we shut down in COVID, who was at the refineries, right? The women and the men standing right here. Now they want to pass regulations that literally are going to jeopardize your jobs, and we need to stop it, okay? So again, where is this happening? This is happening right here in Trenton. They're passing your regulations in Trenton that are going to, rid the ability to buy a car, and these jobs are next. And as Tim said, when refineries go away, we lost 6 refineries during COVID because of bad policies. When refineries go away, they don't come back. All right, we have to remember that right now. We need people in Dover to know that. We need people in Washington, D.C. to know that bans like this are bad for consumers. They raise prices of automobiles. They put new cars out of reach for working mothers and families. They're bad for the economy. They're bad for refineries. As we said, these jobs are going to go away, and they're bad for our national security. China, as was just mentioned, dominates the electric market, EV battery markets. We're going to trade our hard-earned energy security for dependence on China. That makes absolutely no sense. So what are we asking for? All we're asking for is the ability to compete. Cars today are 99% cleaner than they were just 2 short decades ago, right? We're going to keep the pedal to the metal on that. We need to trust consumers. How un-American is it for bureaucrats in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. to tell people what kind of cars they can drive? People should be able to pick cars that meet your budget, meet your family needs, right? We trust you. I trust you. Mandates in this country have never, ever, ever worked, and we need to stop it. So why are we here today? We need to make sure people that work in this building hear you. We need to make sure people in Washington, D.C. hear you. We need to make sure people in Dover hear you, Harrisburg hear you, and they're only going to change. This president is only going to change because bipartisan pushback. We poll the whole country. 70% of people in this country have no idea about these regulations. None. And when they find out about it, overwhelmingly they're opposed. In Michigan, we saw the other day, 87% of all people in Michigan oppose. Nationwide, it's 75%. 60% of Democrats oppose. 80% of independents oppose. The country does not want this. We're here to make sure people hear you. We appreciate everything you do. Know that when we go back to Washington, we're going to fight for the people here today. We're going to fight for your jobs, and we're going to fight for our cars and your choice. So I ask you, please go to don'tbanourcars.com. Find out how you can get involved. Light these phone booths up, these phone lines. Light them up every day. Light up the White House. We can go to that website and you can get information how to do it. And certainly support Senator Bertuccelli's bill he's going to come up here and talk to you about. He needs your help, and we need your help. Thank you for being here, refiners.
Thanks so much, Chet. Before we get to Senator Bertuccelli, we have one additional. Assemblyman Greg Meyer from the 9th District. Please come on up. Let's welcome Assemblyman Meyer to the podium.
Thank you. Should the government mandate you to buy anything? No. Should they mandate you to buy electric cars? No. Should they mandate you buy gas cars? No. That being said, I agree with all of you. The answer is no. We believe in freedom of choice. The free market is what made cars a viable transportation option in the first place. In fact, the only thing the government has any responsibility with our cars is to ensure that they are roadworthy. Your cars pass inspection, they go on the road, and there's plenty of police out there to ensure that you're not violating any local speed laws. We're all familiar with that. I do not believe that there's anything wrong with electric vehicles, but I do believe they should pass the free market test. If they're good for you, make your free choice, go out and buy one. If it makes sense for you to drive a gas car, be it a little hybrid, an SUV, a pickup truck, go out and buy one. Your needs are yours alone and should not be up to the whims of bureaucrats in Trenton. In fact, just underneath this Golden Dome not too long ago, our government voted to increase your gas tax. And they said because they needed the money. They needed the revenue. What they call revenue means when your money becomes Trenton's money. Today, I hope you hear us. Do not mandate electric vehicles. Let us have free choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Now our final speaker for this morning is Senator Berzicelli from New Jersey's 13th District. Senator Berzicelli has been a public servant for nearly 3 decades, serving as mayor of Paulsboro before being elected to the General Assembly and then the Senate. Senator, podium is all yours.
Well, what is left to be said other than the obvious? What happens next? What can you do after you leave here? It was touched on by the gentleman here, spoke very well. You got to get engaged. Your voice has to leave your household and reach your neighbors, and has to reach the Statehouse. My bill, S-2252, would not allow the mandate to happen at the pace it's being proposed. And frankly, there's a great argument to be made as to why that bill should be passed, or the governor and the governor's operation should simply acquiesce to the fact that with all good intentions, it doesn't work at this time. Now, by the way, just for conversation's sake, because you'll enjoy it, I drive an EV. Second car in the house is gas. And I have 9 antique fire trucks that get an average of 3 miles to the gallon. So I'm doing my part with respect to keeping refineries moving. But it was also spoken, the good gentleman from Delaware touched on it correctly. Petroleum products, what comes of them, how they work into everything we touch is important. It's in America's interest that we refine, that we have energy independence. You've heard that term so many times. But my friends, we lack from Washington a federal energy policy that gives a clear roadmap. So we're not going to win that battle today because Washington is in large part dysfunctional. It's just the way it is at the moment. This State House, I want to tell you, is a different place. People both sides of the aisle are collegial with one another. I stand with my Republican friends today comfortably because we talk to each other. Now, the public voice has to reach the governor's office and the State House. So the key is very simple. S-2252 should be adopted. We need clarity of policy. It does not make sense to impose this mandate. You heard all the reasons why. They're all legitimate. And by the way, electric vehicles do not mean that the petroleum industry has to go away. We can't do this with one sector dominating energy. Not going to work. We need petroleum. Fossil fuels are going to be here for our lifetime. We have the charge to manage them responsibly, to make them fit. And by the way, who's old enough in this group to remember the great crisis with the ozone layer? Remember that? The world was ending. Well, people came together, decisions were made, and the ozone layer is not the issue today. So the point is, we can do this. We have to be smart. So again, when you leave today, this is just a little something. You got out of work today, some of you. You're here. It's the right place to be. It's your state capital. When you go home, you've got to talk to your coworkers, and you got to get them engaged. We are very distracted people at the moment. I mean, how can you not be distracted? We've got a major soap opera going on. Presidential race coming on. It's Jerry Springer's season 17. But we have to be careful because those distractions will cause us to take our eye off the ball. And these kinds of things will happen. And remember, those who are suggesting this, they're not evil or bad people. They're largely in rooms, they're largely academic, and they're just not in touch. We have to help them better understand. We're not against, we're part of the solution. Got to be smart. Raise your voices, talk to your assembly people, talk to your senators in a rational, straightforward way and factual. We will win this on the merits. We don't have to be emotional, but we cannot be weak and got to speak up. So to all of you who came today, a big thank you. This is worth fighting for, and the process here in Trenton is accepting of its citizens' voices. Talk to us and do it in a way that gets our attention. Don't have to be mean. Just say, hey, fellas, like, doesn't work. And doesn't work for a lot of reasons. So go home, go to work, feed your families, but get engaged. That's how we win. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Senator. All right, I want to thank all the great speakers this morning. You heard the diversity of opinion. You heard about 1,000 reasons why mandating electric vehicles is not a good idea for New Jersey, for any of our regional states, or for the United States of America. So now together, I'm going to ask that we answer the call of what our speakers asked for, and let's have our voice be heard. So, together, and thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.